Let us continue with our lesson over here, and in this particular lesson let us try to see how we can pass in the parameter to our provider. Let's say you have created some provider and that provider may require some kind of the argument, like let's say a search ID or maybe your user ID or the search query, right? So you need to pass in some kind of the arguments to that particular provider. In that case, let's go and see how we can create a provider that can accept some kind of the parameter. Let's go to our provider over here, and let me just go and create a new provider over here, and I'll just call this one as the something like a user list provider over here, just a simple name, and the dot file over here. And let's go and create the provider over here. So let's just go and use the user list provider over here, and let me import the Flutter Riverpod over here, and let's say it's going to return us the list of the, let's say, user over here. And let me import this one from here as well. Let's just go and import that one, and from here I need to return that one. And now let's just go to the I guess we have the repository, and here we have that as well. So let's just go and copy this one from here, and let's go back over here, and I'll just go and create, or let's just go and pass it over here directly. So we have we will return this one from here, and you can see this is returning the list of the user for us, and this is a provider. And what we need to do is, if we want to pass in some kind of the ID over here, let's say a user ID that you want, I can just go and say this one dot the family over here, and in the once we use the family, I need to pass in the two generic type over here, the return type, and then the one each of the argument or the prompts that it accept. So the type will be of the int. This is a return type, and this is the prompts, right? So this is the parameter that we need to pass in. So let's say now after ref, I need to pass in the ID as well over here. This is what the type is of the int, and the ID is the one that we are getting. And now if I go over here, let's say the list, or let's say a list over here, I'll just go and say the final, or let's say this is of the const, so const, and const the users of this one, and I can just go and let's say this will just go and find the user. So final user will be of equals to the, I need to go and find the first where the user ID is of equals to this particular ID, and let's just go and just return the user from here, not the list itself. So I guess that should be fine from here. Let's just go and close this one, user, right? So let's just go and return that one from here. So I'll just go and return the user from here. So this is the return of the user that we have, and now you can see that we accept the prompts as the ID over here, which is of the type which of the int. And now I'll just show you how to make use of that one. Final, just the single user I need, which is of equals to the ref dot the watch over here, and here I want to watch the user. It should be user, actually we have the user list provider, right? So user list provider is over here, this is the one. So user list provider is actually not providing us the list, but let's just keep it as a simple. So user list provider, so the first one, so this is the user, so you can just manually pass in the one over here, or else you can grab it from here and pass it over here. So now we have the user over here, and I can just go, and I don't want to show it in the UI over here, I'll just go and log it or in the screens or in the console, so we can see that one. And now let's try to go and rerun our application over here, and let's go to the debug over here. You will see that it logged that particular user for us. So this is the one. So the username ID1, user is 30, email is that one. So I guess that is the one that we have over here. this is the one that is actually printing in our screen over here. So now we are able to use that one, and we are able to pass in the argument over here, which is of the ID of the 1, and if you pass in the ID of the 2, that should give us the number 2 user over here, ID 2 user over here. So that's cool. So now we are able to pass in the argument to the provider, which is of the provider, the family. And if you want to go and make use of the autoDispose, you can just go and call this one dot the autoDispose dot the family as well. As you can remember that the autoDispose is the one that automatically dispose the provider if nobody is listening. So it's always good practice to have the autoDispose over here if it doesn't need to be a single instance throughout your application. If you don't provide the autoDispose over here, that's going to actually keep running until your application get terminated, right? So if you have somewhere listener that is listening throughout your application, right, it's not going to dispose. But if you make use of the autoDispose over here, if nobody's watching, then it's obviously it will go and dispose this particular provider, and it will just go and free up some of your memory over here as well, right? So that's the good thing, that if you don't require that for a long time or throughout your application, you should always go and make the provider as the autoDispose over here. And this is the old way of actually providing. So if you want to provide some more, like the more argument or more parameters over here, let's say some string over here, that's not going to work. So the family doesn't accept that one. It only accepts the single parameter over here, right? You cannot pass in the multiple parameters over here. And if you want to pass in the multiple parameters, there is some work around. Make sure to go and read out the documentation about it. And generally you can create the fridge class and you can just pass in over here, right? So create some fridge class and as a state or a model or something, and you can pass it over here. But that's the extra work that you have to provide. And another way around is to make use of the Riverpod code generator. As we saw previously, we can make use of that one and overcome the limitation that it provides. So the provider family, so this family we can only pass in the one params over here parameter. We cannot provide more. So if you want to provide more parameters over here, then we can make use of the code generator tool over here. So let's just grab this one as well over here, and I'll just go and paste it below over here, and I'll just call this one as the user provider, or let's say user provider. So I guess we don't have that name. Let's see if it get conflict with the another provider. And here, instead of using this one, so I guess let me just go and so I guess I'll just go and make use of the Riverpod over here. And let's just go and create the one function. So let's say this is going to return as not the list of the user. It's just going to return as a single user from here, and let's say a user over here. So the function name is user itself, and this will be of the user ref over here. It need to generate that, and we need a ref object over here. And from here, I'm just going to grab this one as well and just copy this one from here, and let's just go and return that one from here. That should be good. So currently we don't have the ID, and here what we can do is we can actually go and pass in that particular ID. So let's say we want to pass in some ID over here, and that will be over here. Let's just go and pass in the int of the ID. So now we got that one over here. And if you want to pass in the more, let's say the int of the age as well. So we want to pass in the int ID and int age. And you can also actually go and make use of the optional params over here. So let's just go and say the string name, which is of the optional parameter over here. It can be of the nullable, or you can also go and set the default one as well. And I guess I'll just go and remove this one. This is not what we need over here. And this is the okay, so we need one more part file over here, so don't forget to add in the part over here. So user list provider.dg.d file, because it needs to generate the code for us. And don't worry about this one, this need to be generated. It will generate once we run the build runner over here. So let's just go and run the build runner and let's wait for it to complete. And now you can see here that we generated that particular code over here, the generated code over here, right? And if we go over here, you can see the user provider now has the type of the int id, int age, and also the optional parameter as well over here. So that's cool. So now we can pass in the multiple the argument or the multiple parameters over here. Let's go over here, and I guess I can just go and remove this one from here. It's not required, and I can remove the cons from here as well. And I guess somewhere over here as well we have some error. Let's remove that, and we still have some error over here. Let's go and see what went wrong over here. Let's try to check it out over here. So name argument for the name parameter name was already specified, so I guess this name is already specified. Try removing the one or the name argument. So I guess we cannot make use of the name over here, and I guess we will just go and change the prompts over here. So let's just go over here, and in string name I'll just go and set the user name over here, I guess username over here, and let me try to regenerate that particular code over here. And it's cool. So now we don't see that particular error in our g.d file. And now let's go back to our the user list screen, and let's just go and try to grab this one. So final user, let's just go and say user 1 over here. Let's just go and say the user 2 over here, and ref dot the watch over here. So watch watch over here, and that will be of the user provider. So user provider, that is what we have over here. And now we need to pass in the you can see now we can pass in the username, right? And this is the type. So we also need to pass in the id. Let's just go and pass in the id of the 1, and age is of the 20, as well as we need to pass in the username as the John over here. And now I can just go to here, and I just go and just print out that user 2 over here, and let's just go and say this is of the user 1, and I'll just go and print out that one as well, user 1 over here as well. And if I go to our user list provider file, and this is that particular provider. So if you go to this one, the provider name is of the user provider, and it's autoDispose provider. That's pretty cool. And the return type is of the user itself. That's pretty cool. So now we don't have to go and manually create all of those, like the provider dot the autoDispose dot the family. And now we can also pass in the multiple argument over here as well. And now I want to just log the whatever we are passing in. So debug, let's say debug print over here, debug print over here, and I want to just go and log the something over here that will be of the username that we are passing in. So let's just go and pass it that username over here. So let's just go and rebuild our application. So let's go to the console over here, and now you can see that we got that one over here. I guess it's not printing out, so let's just go and clear this one. Let me rerun that particular application, and now you can see that the user provider, we got that particular John that we have passed in, and here as well. So if we go to the user list screen, so we have the user 2. That's going to, because we have the same, I guess. Okay, so this is of the id 1, so we got the id 1, and then this is for the id 2. That's cool. So which means now our provider is working perfectly fine. We are able to pass in the multiple the prompts or multiple parameters over here. We can pass in. So depend on your requirement. If you just want to go and make use of the single params or passing the single parameters to your provider, then you can make use of the family, provider family, and provider the family. And if you have a requirement to pass in the multiple the parameters, then what we can do is you can make use of the Riverpod code generator over here, and then you can just add in the multiple the params over here, because this is the function, right? In the function you can pass in the multiple params over here, or the parameter over here. So that's all for this particular lesson, and hope you got the idea how we can make use of the, or how we can pass in the parameters to our provider over here. So let's meet up in the next one. Till then, have a great day.